over the 35 years, how many jokes that you told do you remember, and how many don't you remember? We figured that you remembered most of them.
Well, that's a good question. If I am given the key words, you know, and given a moment to think about it, I can remember just about everything. And this must be 10 to 15 years ago. I had done over 23 hours on television of jokes. So you know, what I've done by this day, and with current events and all that, and I do it with the news. You know, if you pick up the paper and you read it for what it is, or you watch television news and you listen and watch for what it is, and do nothing else but take it as it is, that weight, if you're sensitive about the world and about people, that weight can really bring you way down as close to the ground as you can get. You got to find the levity in it. And I know that, you know, like after 9/11, I worked that night.
I know.
And not because I wanted to, but I had a contract, and they said, if you don't work, you're done. You know, you don't come in any more nights. And it was a long-term contract in Vegas. Now, I know the headline was Vegas goes dark. That's not true. The entertainers were working.
And I do remember you saying to the audience, I know, I read this, that I know why I'm here, but why are you here?
I didn't know why they were there. And I thought it was terrible that they were there.
Right.
But what happened is after the show, the people, I've had adulation, but the people rushed the stage, and they were shaking my hand and thanking me, not for being funny, but for making them laugh. And I realized that those hundreds of people came in that night to get some relief. And that's when I made the decision, number one, I'm not going to work for this corporation anymore.
No.
And so what I did is I went out on the road on the 14th of September. I started my road and booking my agent, you know, Rich Super started booking me around the country.
Right.
And I went all around the country until January, and I was here at Madison Square Garden. I was in the little theater there, you know, the theater at Madison Square Garden.
Yes.
And of course, I invited the emergency workers and the cops and the firemen, and you know.
And you call it was Laughter to the People, I think. It was a tour.
Yeah, Laughter to the People, very good. Laughter to the People, because they need it. People were afraid to travel. They were afraid to fly.
Right.
So I'm afraid to fly anyway. So I just figured, well, I'm afraid anyway. So I flew to where they were. I get there, it's in January, and I've been on the road since September 14th. Yeah. And I'm doing the last part of this tour, and I finish a show, and I walk out, and there's a young guy, 28, 30 years old, something like that, and he comes up to me, and he had a glass of wine. He wasn't drunk, but you could tell he had a couple drinks. Yeah. And he said, he introduced himself, he was a fireman here in New York. Now, I knew 16 firemen who died at the World Trade Center. Wow. And he said to me, you know, I want to tell you that tonight is the first time I've laughed at current events since September 11th. He said, I was in the tower, and I got out, and 8 of my brothers behind me didn't make it. Yeah. He said, and I left the force. The next day, I stopped being a fireman the next day. He said, but you show me I can laugh again, and I'm going to go in tomorrow morning, and I'm going to be a fireman again, and I want to thank you. I said, what, you thank me? I said, I got to thank you. Who would ever think that jokes had this kind of power? And a moment of idiotic patriotism, I called my agent, I said, extend the tour. And I ended up staying out for 2 years. Yeah.